Hey guys, welcome back. Part number 7 and the final part of my A-6E Intruder build. It's looking really cool, really liking how this one's turning out in the Gulf War markings. Final part, so we've got all the final little jobs to do. Gear on, add the ordnance which we built already, and all the other little lights and bits and bobs. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, welcome back. So last part, we're going to wrap this guy up, and it's been a tough build, but really enjoying the results thus far. It's been very satisfying getting to this stage. Now, here we're at from last week, painted and weathered, looking very nice. I'm glad I went with this scheme. That's the whole reason I bought this kit. I don't want to do just like boring grey. You got to add like some kind of visual interest to it. So looking really good. So now we've got to like get across the finish line. So we've got things like adding the gear, we've got the lights, we've got to add the refueling probe, the ordnance which we built already early on. And my top tip as always is building your ordnance first and get it out of the way, because at this stage if I have to then start building these cluster bombs and stuff, my mojo will really be kind of sinking right now. So get it done early in the build, makes it a lot easier. Then all we have to do is just super glue it to the bottom and we're done. So everything from now on will be super glued with just usual CA glue. I got this stuff. Doesn't last very long, it kind of goes off. This just happens to be Zappa Gap. There's Bob Smith Industries, all kinds of just household super glue, because it doesn't affect the paintwork. So I did film me putting this gear together, but I figured nobody wants to see 15 minutes of me putting plastic together. It's kind of boring, so I'm not going to include it in this video. I think we can't all know how to put plastic together. So built these up, no problem at all. It's nice to have these metal inserts, so it's really kind of strong, some strength to this, because this is a pretty big aircraft. So built it up, as always, sprayed it black. This serves the 1500 black as a primer, and then came back with white on top, so it gives that really kind of thick, like heavy kind of depth to the colour. Wheels painted, as always, rubber black, and using my handy dandy circle template thing. I've had this for years, from a dollar store, and it works great. You just put it over and spray your colour, no problem at all. So yeah, if you have one of these, you definitely must buy. So built these, then I've given it a quick clear coat, flat clear coat, just to protect it, especially with wheels, because it touches the table and the shelf and stuff, so paint gets worn. So I always make sure I give a good coat of clear on the bottom there. So I don't weather them yet, because I'm going to weather them same wash as I use for the landing gear bays and all the bay doors and stuff. So we'll do it all in one go to save us kind of keep mixing stuff up and whatever. So that's what we've got ahead of us today. So first of all, I'm going to do it off camera because I want to concentrate on this and get the gear on and get it standing on its gear, which shouldn't be too difficult, because again it's just slotting in here and the holes provided, and hopefully we get no problems at all. So we get that gear on, then we'll start working through painting the gear doors, and yeah, I'll come and show you those in a short while. So let me get this working on this and I'll be right back. Alright, so got the gear on and added the fuel tank as well, which we did early on in the build. Now it's not very much of a positive connection on these, so let me show you a little bit. It's where it goes in there, there's 3 holes, and there's a very kind of vague kind of spot there, but I don't want to push it down too much and snap it all, so I just very carefully kind of gingerly put them in. So I used super glue, as I mentioned, but I just wanted a little bit extra strength, so I went with my old clear Gorilla Glue. Dries clear, obviously, it's like a gel. This stuff is really strong, obviously being Gorilla Glue. So very carefully with a toothpick, just once I glued it with super glue, let it dry for 20 minutes, and then just around the edges, just add a little bit of this stuff. It takes a few hours for this stuff to go off, really overnight probably, but it should hopefully add some extra strength to this thing. But yeah, very kind of, not sure. It's very vague again where they went. It wasn't very positive kind of fit. We got the fuel tank on. I don't put the ordnance on yet because I want to add the gear doors and that kind of stuff. So it does sit very high. Now the camera's facing down, so you're not really going to see the height of this guy. But I think we can probably go ahead and put on its wheels now. And again, you're not going to see because it's side, but I mean it's very long landing gear, so it sits very high. But cool. There you go. It's sitting flat and looking pretty good. Stabilizer's coming a little looser, but there we go. So I'm going to head, next step I think is going to be the flaps, sorry, not flaps, the gear doors, and I'm going to go ahead and start cutting those out, getting them painted up with the light ghost grey, adding those, and then we're almost done. So let me get working on those and I'll be right back. Alright, so making some progress on here, and a few things to talk about. So let me flip her upside down. Let's get the foam so I don't break the canopy. Okay, so let's go through this. So I got the gear doors on, no problem at all. Tons of ejection pin marks all over, so I had to fill them best I could and took care of it. Nose gear, you got no room to work down here, so let me kind of zoom. Oh, wrong way. Boop, boop, boop. There we go. Doors on nose gear, put those in first and then put the gear in afterwards. That's going to be way easier. I had no room to work with. There was like a strut that goes down. I just had to snap it off so I could fit it in. Not a big deal at all. So that's on, the fuel tank's on. I think I screwed up with the gear here. I think these supports shouldn't be sticking that hole. I think they should be going inwards. Not a big deal, it's all glued in now. I'm not going to worry about that. Pylons, oh my god, what a complete nightmare they were. The pins weren't locating very good on the these two inner ones. And as often the case, as any super glue really, but especially Zappa Gap, when you open these little, you just get little bottles, so they go off so quickly. So the first couple of weeks these are okay, but they just lose the bite after that, and you just got to throw them away basically. So this wouldn't stick. All kinds of issues kept falling off. The cluster bombs just kept falling off and crumbling. This thing almost ended up out the window, but took a break, came back to it. Tons of super glue. Just I sploshed it all on and finally got these things to stick. So I got the two GBUs on there and the cluster bombs. Now, cluster bombs, don't. If you build this kit, don't do the cluster bombs. Just do yourself a favor and use the Mark 82s. The cluster bombs, if you remember back in my Ordnance video, they weren't designed for this kit. The holes in the wrong space, you have to fill them all in. They're barely any pins holding them on. They're just bouncing on. They're not even straight. I can't get them straight, so they look all crooked and crap. Yeah. So maybe down the road, once the build's finished, I might just rip these off, get aftermarket or some sort of weapons and just redo that part, I think, just to upgrade it a little bit. I notice I've still got a door to do on the front here and some lights and stuff to add in. But that's where we're at. So yeah, the cluster bombs are a nightmare. They kept every time, and you got nowhere to hold it because they're surrounded by the bombs. So you can't hold the pylon. So when you kind of put some pressure on it, just snaps off, and they all fell off. And I have to glue them all back on again. Blah blah blah. But we're there, and if I hold it up, it's looking okay, right? It's not completely straight, but hey ho, it is what it is. And like that, like see, there's nowhere near straight. If I'm nervous, if I move it, I'm going to snap the whole thing off. So again, for this build I think it'll be fine, but I mean at some point in time I might just side take those off altogether. But yeah, there we go. So that's where we're at, chugging along nicely. So what I got left to do, I've already painted up the refueling probe, minus the metallic part at the end here. This kind of antenna that goes on here, onto the tail. What else I got? I got a few things left to do. So I got to build this guy here. I got a couple of doors to do. I got down the intakes here. I got like the steps with some PE and stuff, and the lights. And that is pretty much it. We're almost done. As I moved the flat back in where it moved. So getting there. So I just want to give a quick update. At this point, I'm not sure unless I can anything more exciting. I'll probably just go straight to final reveal, and we'll go from there, I guess. But yeah. I do like the paintwork and stuff, but it is a little bit tricky. So, like I say, that cluster bombs were just a nightmare. So let me continue working through this, get all the last little jobs done, and get this thing wrapped up, finally. Done, finally. This is a long project. I'm glad it's finished off the bench because the mojo's weaning, and we're done. So as always, let's do a quick walk around here. Very glad I picked out this awesome golf ball camo. It looks really cool. Definitely better than plain boring grey. Now the only thing, as I mentioned, is H19 in the instructions is not accurate because as you can see it's a very tan colour. I bleached down, but it should be the same colour as these decals, which is like a desert yellow colour. So it's definitely off in colours, but hey, it's not a problem, it's done. But yeah, quite happy how it's turned out. It was a lot of work, not for a beginner, for sure. Now let's kind of talk through this kit, HobbyBoss kit. So you get a lot of detail out of the box. You got radar. You got these that open up the ladder steps. You got panels that open up out the box, straight out the box. You get a lot of detail in the kit, so it's a good kit in that aspect. Getting together was a handful. Now this isn't straightforward. Two pieces of fuselage go together like an aircraft. There's about 10 different parts that go into building this complex shape, and you've got to have every single one absolutely perfect. Otherwise, it's not going to line up. and I had a slight misalignment on the front here, about 0.5 millimeter, and the windshield wouldn't fit perfectly. So I had to spend a lot of time filling and sanding and blending, and eventually we did really well, and there's no damage to the canopy, and we just blend in and look good. So it's a tricky, it's a big handful, this one, to get together, but we did it. Now, a few problems with the kit. As mentioned, the H19 color, definitely not accurate for this scheme. Color callouts weren't that great, as I mentioned, and cluster bombs, that was a cluster F bomb. They're not designed for this kit. They're thrown in on sprues, but the coals are in the wrong position, they don't fit the pylons correctly, and then you come to fit them onto you come to fit the pylon onto the wing, and you got nowhere to hold it because there are all these fragile little cluster bombs around it. So they all fell off, and the air turned blue and almost ended out the window, but we got there in the end. They're not straight or anything. Now my plan with this, maybe if I want to push this forward, which I probably won't, is reach out the trumpeter and see if I can pay for a couple of extra sprue J's with the pylons, and just change it to Mark 81s, the dumb bombs. I think it's going to look better. They'll actually fit. Hopefully the pins fit, and you actually get them on straight onto the pylons. But nevertheless, they're on. Little bum, because I did want to do at the very beginning. I wanted to do the Mark 81s and the cluster bombs, which you can get 2 sets. You know, these rails, but you only get two of these pylons in the box. So bummer. But yeah, so a couple of things we tried first with this kit. Quinta Studios, really nice detailed and went down really well. Easy to use, fit perfectly. First time using those 3D cockpit decals. Definitely improvement on the old Edward photo etch, because that for me that was always 2D. I never liked that, but this stuff is a lot better. But even with the canopy closed there, you can't see inside it. Just the light shining on it, you can't see inside the canopy very well. So would I do it again? Probably not. If I had the canopy open, for sure, because you can actually see in and stuff. So be careful if you're picking subjects where the cockpit's very small, or you're closing the canopy up. I wouldn't bother with Quinta Studios. You're not going to see it. It's not worth the money. But if you're going to have it all open up, and you can see right inside it, sure, definitely worth an investment there. Mask sets, first time ever did my own custom masks, and it worked out pretty much perfectly. So Tamiya masking paper, I think it was $10 for 6 sheets, and we used about 2/3 of 1 sheet on this, so that was a good value. So I'll definitely do that again with the mask sets. That was definitely wasn't that difficult, just scanning in as you saw, and me basically cutting them out and sticking them on, and no bleed or anything, as you expect with Tamiya. It worked out really good. So yeah, that was pretty much it. So nicely detailed kit out of the box, handful put together, and I'm glad it's finished. But I hope you agree, it's definitely striking in a Gulf War scheme, even though the colors are inaccurate. Thank you, HobbyBoss. So there we go. That's the end of this build series, and I think, as I mentioned earlier in the year, this is going to be the last build series of this format. I'm not going to do these long multi-part ones anymore, just because the viewing interest kind of depleted and they're getting a little samey. I feel like every series we're kind of going through the same kind of stuff over and over. So never say never, but I'm going to change my format a little bit on the channel, and we'll still do build vlogs, but in a different kind of format, I guess. But as always, thank you for watching. If you want to support the channel, please go check out my Patreon. I've got a lot of good content on there and unique content, and it helps support my channel and keep the lights on basically in the studio. So as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.